Welcome back to The Big Show. It's always nice to talk to a top comedian and a top celebrity and a man who's shot to mega fame. John Bishop, how are you?
I'm very good, Alex. I love that introduction, although I'm not sure what part of that introduction involved me.
And that's sycophantic to everybody, as you know, because we used to work on the same radio station. We followed each other and we've never met before. How is that possible?
I know we did. We used to get your show sent to us. So I'd be in the radio station in Liverpool listening to you talking to celebs around the world. Well, I was up at a tower in the rain thinking, why is nobody here? Why is Alex just getting out of the bath with Girls Aloud and I'm here?
It's never as glamorous as you think. I mean, radio or TV, really,
well,
is it?
Now I'm on the other end of it and I can see what your world really is like and we're in a cupboard. Then, no, obviously, the Girls Aloud thing was just made up.
It really was. And that's the thing about it. You get to talk to all different kinds of people and you came into it from a different angle because they book you because you're funny. But that's another pressure, isn't it? Because then you've got to be funny every week.
To an extent. And the whole thing is that the worst thing you can ever say to a comedian when he's off stage is go and tell us a joke. And I always go, why? You never go up to a plumber and say, go on, fix us a tap. Go on, fix a tap. Prove you're a plumber. Come on.
I think a lot of people have got to know you this year through that Michael McIntyre programme. Yeah. It really did do you gangbusters, didn't it?
Oh, we did. I mean, we were talking just before we went on air about Michael himself and the career that he's had at the moment's exploding. But the benefit is that if he wasn't so popular at the time, he wouldn't have had that road show, and those of us who managed to get on it wouldn't have had the benefit of that. So it's been a great spin-off. And since doing that, I'm moving on to do Live at the Apollo. It's all good exposure because what it does for a comedian, it lets people see you do what you do. It's not, like you see a panel show and you see them doing something on a panel show. That's not really. Being a comedian is standing on a stage with nowhere to hide, just a microphone and a room full of strangers looking at you going, go on then, lad, make us laugh.
You see, and I love that about you and your confidence as well. I mean, I noticed with the road show, they tried to floor you. Somebody was trying to be a clever dick and screamed out, and you were right back in there. That's not very cool now, is it? Because it seems like they have a script these days, comedians, and they read it out to you and then you go home.
Well, that's the difference, I think, between the live situation and, as I say, the formatted one of a panel show or something like that. And they're all good in their own right, but, a panel show's always edited to come up with that material. So I went on 8 out of 10 Cats, and we were in the room for 2.25 hours, and the programme itself was 24 minutes. So what you get is a fraction of the reality of the situation, whereas a live stand-up, standing there and just going through your material and having to react off the audience, that's the purest way of seeing a stand-up. That's the best way, and that's, in all honesty, that's the thing that I know I could never not do, regardless of everything else that I do. Going out on the road and doing it's the be-all and end-all to me.
However, when you do TV and that material's out there on BBC One primetime, you can't really use it again. So you're kind of your own worst enemy there, aren't you?
To an extent, but when you get asked to do it, I mean, like the Michael McIntyre thing, if you take that as the best advert I've ever had, and what happened was I got heckled half the way through, and I just thought, well, they're not going to use any of this. So I just told some other stories and moved on and forgot all about it. Now, I think if you can't come up with another 7 minutes of material, then you shouldn't be a comedian. It's what you do. It's what we do. And obviously what does happen, though, which is really interesting, is that you do get people coming up to you saying, oh, God, I hope you do that joke about so-and-so. And I think a joke's like a magician's trick. There has to be something at the end of it to go, that's the funny bit. It's not like a song, is it? You go to a U2 concert and they'll be there and Bono will be singing and you sing along with them. I never want people joining in on a joke going, hey, go on, there it is, and the punchline is, hey! Imagine that, pointing your microphone at the audience, go on, you do the punchline, I'll just dance.
I'm surprised Peter Kay's not thought of doing that, bringing out a CD of his greatest hits.
Probably, yeah. That may well be the next thing. Yeah, garlic bread, come on, garlic.
Does it ever get normal when other comedians that you've been watching for years suddenly know who you are?
It's really strange. It's really strange, but it's not so much that because comedy's not my thing really. I wasn't really interested in comedy before I did it, so I've never necessarily been fazed by meeting comedians. But the biggest thing that struck me was a few weeks ago. I got a text, and this is my big celeb moment. This is the thing. I was in the pub with me missus, and not into all this celeb thing, but I got a text, and it was one of those moments where I thought, God, my life's changed. I got a text off Jamie Carragher. And Jamie Carragher sent me a text saying, Jonathan Ross has just mentioned you on his show. It was Friday night on Jonathan Ross. Jonathan Ross has just mentioned you on his show. Jamie Carragher. I'm sat there with me missus drinking a pint of mild. I was drinking the mild, not me missus. And I've got, look at that. And she went, you've changed.
And it literally can overnight. And if you look at Michael, I mean, it's easy to poo-poo it, but 2 years ago he made his debut in the same dressing room as Ken Dodd at the Raw Variety, and then the next minute he's selling arenas up and down the country.
Yeah, and he's done it because he's good. You know, whatever people say, whether you like his material or don't like his material, like him or don't like him, whatever, everyone's going to have that. You got to look at the bulk of people in this country. The majority of people like what he does, and he's brilliant at it, and he's funny. It's impossible to go and see him and not laugh. And I've known Michael for a few years, and it's been great to see the progression, particularly because, you know, I'm not necessarily like him in many ways, but what I've seen is that it opens the door to possibility. You think, that could be someone else. You know, whether it's me or someone else, it just means that we've got an audience who like comedy. There's people in the UK who like to have a laugh, despite the fact that we live in this wet, miserable, bankrupt island. We like a giggle, and so I think it's brilliant. Comedy at the moment's the one thing that people seem to turn to when everything else is going wrong.
And it's interesting as well, especially with your act and people like Peter Kay. We love a character, and we especially seem to love a character from the north, because we're not sure where the character starts and you end, if you know what I mean.
But this is it. There's no start. I haven't got time to think about that. Yeah, there's always this thing as well about northern comedians. I suppose people assume that there's that bit where you're trying to be funny because your life was miserable, because you had no shoes and you had to walk 10 miles to school and get beaten by your father when you came home before you went down the pit. Some of that's true, but there's also that little bit where it shows how universal comedy is. Because if you take again Michael's the posh kid. Michael went to my school, we'd have thrown bricks at Michael because he was posh. But, you know, people I know pay money to go and see him because he's funny. And if you take people with my accents, it will grate on some people's ears, but other people will go, well, that's a pleasant part of I suppose it's being a cultural ambassador. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking the message out there.
You say you've got an accent. I hadn't really noticed. Where are you from?
No, it's very subtle, isn't it? Well, this is the thing as well about being a Scouser, is people assume your accent gives you two things. It makes you either funny or it makes you hard. And somewhere growing up in Liverpool, you've got to make a choice which one you want to be. And I didn't want to get it back, so I went the other way.
How do you feel about this thing about so many funny people coming from Liverpool? I mean, there does seem to be a trend, doesn't there?
Well, everyone says that, but when you think about it, it's not necessarily people who do it for a living. It's not the people who do it in show business terms, because I'm not sure in on that level we've got more than anywhere else. But what we have got is a city of funny people. You know, if you're in Liverpool and you get heckled, it'll be funny. But if you're walking down the street and people talk to you, it's funny. You know, I did a play recently called One Night in Istanbul, which was a play about Liverpool winning the Champions League final. And we did it at the Empire Theatre, and it was fantastic. It was really, really good. But it's probably the only play in history where people heckled all the way through the play. And they, because it was a comedy play, so as soon as you said something funny, they were throwing something out, and I kept on thinking, I'm acting now, I'm not a comedian. In the end, when we got to the last read, I just went, like, that'll do. And I just turned on all the hecklers. But it's just part of the humour of the city. It's brilliant.
Do you think you're born funny then in Liverpool?
I don't know about that. I think in terms of starting to be funny, I never really knew I was. I fell into comedy and I had no interest in it and didn't really plan to do it at all. It's just that I'd split up with my wife and I was miserable. And I ended up in a comedy club one night and ended up on the stage, and I just started talking about splitting up with my wife and being miserable. And because people in the UK enjoy someone else being miserable. I just kept on getting booked. That's honest to God what happened.
So you saw this as a counselling session. They saw it as comedy.
Yeah. People would come in. You could see them going, "Here, come and see this fella. He's getting divorced. Honestly, sits here. He'll be crying in a minute. Look. Here it comes. Look. Hey! Wait till he starts talking about his kids. It's great."
So you were doing Jeremy Carr before he was?
Yeah, I was Jeremy Carr. I was the presenter and the DNA test all rolled into one.
And of course, you're really an actor. I mean, that's what you are as a proper job.
Baloney. That is the strangest thing on the planet. I've not done any acting. I did a panto. Right, I did a panto with Darren Day and Chesney Hawkes.
Wow.
I know. If you're going to do one, do it with the one and only.
It's comedy.
That was brilliant. I did that. And I did it because my kids say do it. I was really good laughing. I thought that's the only pretend thing I'm going to do. So I carried on doing the stand-up. And then I got cast in Skins. To be one of the dads in Skins, which was a bit of a shock to the ego to see you be a dad. I wasn't a teenager, and then I keep on getting these little parts, and I've just done this Ken Loach film, which was a serious part. This film, Root Irish, which will be out later in the year, and so it's just something that's evolved. But I never regard myself as an actor. What I do is stand-up comedy. Everything else that comes out of that is a bonus. I mean, doing comedy is a bonus.
What's it like working on Skins? Because when I watch that, I feel I'm watching it for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, you want to work on it? It's unbelievable. You walk around and keep on thinking, oh, no, don't, love, no. I've got all these scenes with my daughters crying into my shoulders. I'm going, oh, no. It's a challenge.
Are you on a list anywhere?
No, not yet, because I keep on saying, look, this isn't me, this is my character.
It's a great show, though, isn't it?
Oh, I tell you what, it's brilliant, and the way it looks, and because I got casting, and I hadn't seen it. I might have seen one episode in one of the first series, but I got teenage kids now, and they watch it, and so I got the box set, of the series that I was in. And I thought, this is brilliant. So this next series that's out, because my character's got more in it, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's what's good about it as well, it's got such a cult status. There's a whole body of people who watch it, and those are the people who also like go to comedy, so there's a bit of a relationship there. And it's nice to be part of something that you look at and go, you know what, that's just good. It's well written, it's well made, and the acting in it from all the other people is fantastic. It's difficult. I was taking my son round the sixth form college the other day for him to go to next year. It was just like a big giant episode of Skins, and I'm thinking, I hope you lot aren't doing anything that we're supposed to be pretending to be doing. It's bizarre.
When Daddy's on the TV, I'm sure that's exciting, but I mean, are you a bit embarrassing because you're the man trying to make everybody laugh?
I'm just embarrassing. I think it's that thing, isn't it? I don't think, no matter what you do as a dad, you'll never impress your kids. That's it. I think probably Buzz Aldrin is the same thing. I think I think that's it. Once, even if you've gone to space, you're still your dad. So if they are impressed, they'll never tell me.
Well, congratulations on being you. Put in John Bishop on YouTube and look for those clips on Michael McIntyre, because they're beautifully shot and it's you at your best, really. You've got a great crowd, because a comedian doesn't necessarily work if the audience aren't behind you.
Or not there. It's very, very difficult. I mean, often, to be honest, that's the biggest question you get, is that people think, what's it like being a comedian when you're walking on with the crowd hostile? But when people have invested to buy a ticket to go to a comedy show, they want to laugh. It's very rare that you get it where they don't. But the other question as well is size. Once you get into a bigger venue, it's a lot more challenging. But having said that, I mean, I've done a gig to 4 people for an hour, so I'd much rather do 3,500.
Are you the kind of person that will go home and shout through the letterbox if they don't laugh?
Yeah, like Ken Dodwell there. No, if you don't laugh, you know what? If you don't laugh, I'm not bothered. I enjoy what I'm doing that much. I just think, look, some things are going to work for some aren't going to work for others. Yeah, that's it. It's not that important. We're just here to have a giggle.
What about people like Ken Dodd? I mean, you mentioned him there. He's probably the most famous Liverpool comedian ever. I mean, do you kind of dock your cap at him and think, wow, I mean, you're the king of comedy?
Absolutely. And also, I've met Ken a few times, and I actually saw him, it was about 6 months ago, something like that, and he was doing a show at the London Palladium. And I got invited backstage to sort of see him again in the bar, and it was it was January, the credit crunch has officially become a word. And I saw him in the bar, and he said, "Hi John, how are you?" And the first thing he said to me, he said, "Credit crunch, you got any jokes on that?" And I thought, God, Daddy, you're 80. When are you just going to stop? I mean, to be there and say, look, I want some more jokes about this new thing, I thought it was fantastic.
John Bishop's the new big comedian, and you're going to be huge. You're touring all over. What's your website?
The website is johnbishoponline.com.
Couldn't you afford johnbishop.com?
No, someone else has got that. Someone's got johnbishop.com and all the .UKs and all the rest.
Who could be more important than you, though, to get the website?
Well, it's interesting because on Google now, I'm number one on Google. But there was a time, Alex, where there was an estate agent on the south coast who's higher up, and there's a grave, this honest to God true, and there's a grave robber whose website was higher than mine. An actual grave robber who's got a history of him is another John Bishop. So I had to get beyond an estate agency we hate and someone who robs dead people.
JohnBishopOnline.com is a place to find out all dates. You're going everywhere. It's relentless, your tour, isn't it?
It is. I'll tell you why, because we started off thinking we booked 50 dates and they sold out, and so we've just added more dates, going back to places, bigger venues, and it's a joy to do. If I can keep going out on the road, I'll do it, and my wife likes it as well.
There's no greater thrill finding a new comedian who's funny, because they're not all funny, and you're a real character and personality on stage, and you're completely at home. That's so nice to see. John Bishop, thanks for talking to me.
Oh, thanks, Alex. Thank you. Well, I am at home because we're in our house.